Today, we're diving into the hidden costs of local government fraud losses across the Lone Star State. I'm Charles Blaine, and this is Texas Tomorrow. Let's start with the numbers. According to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, the median loss per fraud case in government entities is $150,000. Now, that might not seem like a lot of money when you're talking about public money, but until you realize that 16 to 18% of all reported fraud cases involve government entities. So we're talking municipalities, counties, school districts. And in Texas alone, local government fraud and embezzlement cost taxpayers tens to hundreds of millions of dollars every year. And here's the kicker. These losses are separate from our debt crisis, but they make it worse by draining resources that could otherwise service debt or provide essential services. The fraud takes many forms. There's embezzlement, direct theft of municipal funds, procurement fraud, where contractors pay kickbacks for inflated contracts, or where board members who have ties to a contractor push sole source contracts through, billing schemes with fake or padded invoices, even payroll fraud with ghost employees who don't exist but somehow keep getting paychecks. School districts are particularly vulnerable. They've experienced fraud through fake vendors, falsified overtime claims, and improper credit card usage. And remember, these are the same school districts sitting on over $200 billion in debt. The real tragedy is, though, small cities and rural municipalities face the highest risk. A single fraud case can represent years of a small town's budget. When you have limited staff and weak internal controls, one bad actor can devastate an entire community's finances. And the reverberating effects of those are very real. It's not theoretical. In 2024, the Texas Department of Insurance Fraud Unit alone reported $53 million in criminal fraud restitution orders. That's just insurance-related fraud. The Houston area saw several fraud convictions involving healthcare billing, totaling over $12 million in restitution in just 1 year. And a 2025 data breach in the Texas Health and Human Services Commission resulted in more than $270,000 stolen from public assistance accounts, money meant to help low-income Texans. And the frequency is increasing. Fraud reporters and enforcement actions have risen sharply over the past 5 years, mirroring the rise in our overall debt crisis. And every dollar stolen through fraud is a dollar that can't go toward infrastructure, education, or public safety, or any of these other expenses that we deal with. It's a dollar that increases pressure for higher property taxes, the same property taxes that 80% of Texans already say are significant, a burden. And when San Antonio carries a $21.2 billion in debt and loses money to fraud, when Houston manages $20.9 billion in debt while dealing with procurement scams, it creates a vicious cycle. Fraud losses force borrowing. Borrowing increases debt, service costs, and higher costs drive up property taxes. But there are some solutions. Independent audits, anonymous whistleblower hotlines, dual signature requirements for disbursements, and rigorous vendor screening can dramatically reduce the risk of fraud. Larger cities are implementing new technology systems for real-time alerts and red flag tracking. And the challenge is getting smaller municipalities to adopt these practices and making them feasible for the cost that they have to incur. When a town has 3 employees and a part-time bookkeeper, implementing robust controls isn't easy, but it is essential. Unlike many government problems, fraud is completely preventable with tight systems and oversight from both those who work there and the public. The question is whether our local officials and we as citizens will act before the next major fraud case devastates your community's budget. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Texas Tomorrow. Please like, share, comment. Let us know if there's something going on in your neighborhood that you'd like us to talk about.